Hi, my name is Rich Schmidt. I'm here with Dieter Boehm at High Pass Winery. It's July 13, 2016. We're in Junction City. And Dieter, our first question for you is why wine?
Oh, that goes way back. You know, I grew up in Germany, and in a small town in East Germany that was actually communist at the time. My parents ran a restaurant, and my father was a connoisseur of wine. He liked wine, and basically he introduced me, or my sister and me, to wine. That it was something special, that it was something good, you know. It was something to be savored, and so it was not like we had it daily or with dinner or something, but the special occasions, you know, the big holiday dinners, there was always good wine on the table, you know. And the restaurant, of course, served wine. So that's how I got to know wine a little bit, and then I went to college in Dresden, and Dresden is along is on the Elbe River, and it has a small grape growing region. So the banks of the river were, you know, spotted with vineyards, and it was real cute. It looked very nice. You know, I fell in love with that landscape because it looked so cultured. Mm-hmm. There were, in the vineyards, there were little chapels in there, you know, little buildings that were going back hundreds of years, a little Baroque little chapel in there, and a really picturesque scene. So whenever I had the chance, you know, on weekends and stuff, we went out there, sampled wine, talked to the people, and so that's how I fell in love with the landscape of vineyards and viticulture. So later on in life, I ended up in Oregon, and I just came at a time, and it was in '76, when people had started the industry here. And I mean, I was curious about it, and the climate. After living here for a year, I realized the climate was similar to areas in Germany where they were growing wine. I had lived in Heidelberg for a year before in Germany, and that's right in the middle of German grape growing areas along the Main River, not far from the Rhine. This whole area has you know, grapes forever. So I thought, oh, this climate is very similar, and people were going for it up north, you know, mostly, and it intrigued me, and I thought, wow, this might be something I want to do, you know. But then back in '76, I was still undecided where my life was going, and so I went back to Germany. Stayed there for another year, and then I decided, well, Germany is not it. I go back to the U.S., you know, and then got stuck in Pennsylvania for a year, you know, and finally made it out here again, '79, and then just started working as a tree planter. You know, I was trained, actually. I went into business school, and I was working as a computer analyst in Germany, and then when I escaped from East Germany into West Germany, then I was searching for something new. I worked several jobs and nothing really, you know, that I liked a lot. And then when I came here, I didn't pick up the old trade either. I said, well, I go back to the land here, and I met a bunch of hippies in the co-op, and they said, oh, you can come tree planting with us, you know. So I ended up being a tree planter for a few years in a co-op called Second Growth. And so I got to know the whole West Coast basically in that time frame, because we were traveling, you know, all over doing jobs. And at the same time, I started saving some money, and I thought, well, I got to look around and see if I can find some land, you know, that and maybe that vineyard possibility, that dream is possible. So I started looking, and I was Eugene based, so I knew a lot was happening up in McMinnville, Dundee area, and I said, well, the climate seems to be the same in the Willamette Valley pretty much all north from Portland down to Eugene. So I started looking near Eugene, and after a year of searching, one day I came in here, and I looked back from the road. I looked up, and I saw this beautiful hillside, and back then it was all grass, golden grass in the wind. Looked real cool. And I said, wow, this is a nice spot. And a couple of weeks later, I found out that it actually was listed for sale. And I said, wow, this is nice. I'll go for it, So I ended up buying this place, and then shortly thereafter I had already started a nursery in Eugene. I had already cuttings that I rooted, and so I was ready to go, So in '85, I started to plant out here, and ever since I've been working on this place.
So you started the vineyard first, and the winery part came later.
That came quite a bit later, yeah.
So when you were doing the vineyard, how did you go about establishing yourself establishing your business?
Well, you start looking around in the neighborhood, who else is doing it. You talk to the local wineries that were, there was a couple, 3 wineries existing. There was Hinman, and there was what way back was called Forgeron. So you talk to those about the need for grapes, if you could just sell them the grapes until you get established. And this was a very friendly group of people. Everybody was helpful, and it was really a camaraderie. We had meetings and talking about our experiences and what they learned, passed it on, and so on. So it was pretty neat. And so the winery thing was, of course, you want to make wine. That's the ultimate result, ultimate goal. You grow those grapes. You want to taste what wine they make. So you start on the side. Of course, the first grapes came and make wine in '88, '89. And it's actually still pretty good. I have some bottles still from back then, and every so often I crack one open, and it's still drinkable. So that's exciting. Yeah. So I planted the whole place. And then phylloxera hit, so then you start over. Then all of a sudden, oh gosh, we thought that never going to happen here, and that happened. And I had rootstock. I sort of was prepared. I knew that it was going to happen because no matter how careful people are, people bring stuff in, and So by the time it started happening, I had rootstock, and I started grafting myself and started replanting, and that whole process took a long time, and then I got more serious about the idea of making wine commercially and starting a little winery, and that happened in '94, and so in '94 I custom crushed in Broadley, at Broadley's in Monroe, and in '95 we did the first crush here. Had to build it, it's like waiting for the permit to come in. The grapes are ripening. I hope this permit comes before because it's a lot of paperwork, right, to get all that. So, but it all worked out. Permits came in, so we started to have the first crush. It was small production. And then started the whole process of getting the product out there, in the market. And that's the part that became really frustrating really quick, because it required a lot of, basically it's another job. You know, it's another job to go out there and promote and all that. So I did that for a while. You know, then I took care of the vineyard, or hired people to take care of the vineyard, managed the vineyard, and started making the wine. And then the next job was the marketing deal. And the marketing I really don't like, you know. I did it for a while, it was okay. But then it became, you know, it's just like, yeah, it was not my thing.
I hear that a lot.
So basically, you know, instead of putting everything into extreme growth mode, you know, I said, well, I'll keep that winery on a small level. And I focus on growing grapes and sell grapes, and produce a small amount of wine that I can sell locally and in the tasting room. And that's how it's been lately. So
when you were first starting out, you had experience with growing things, but
Yeah.
did you have a specific experience with grapes, and what was the learning curve like as you started to actually plant grapes in the ground?
Well, being German, I went back there. I bought every book I could find, you know, and just self-taught basically, you know, studied whatever I could, and that was extremely helpful. And I like to grow stuff, so I'm okay with that. That's not a big deal, you know.
Sure.
It's just a little different, different plant, different species, but overall, you know, I think that's in my DNA, growing things. So, yeah.
And you talked a little bit about the other wineries in the area, Hinman and Forgeron, and a couple of the others. You said it was a friendly group. Were they people you went to for advice as well, or was it mostly business?
Well, as I said, you know, in the meetings we had, there was a lot of exchanging going on of ideas, you know, and what works, and that definitely was happening, you know. But but also a business connection, you know. I supplied Doyle with grapes. My first crops all went down to Hinman, you know, and he was very supportive, trying to help the local guys here to establish the viticulture end of the wine business.
Sure.
And then more little wineries sprang up. Monroe, Broadley, you know, came in, wanting to make serious Pinot, and then Alpine was existing. I knew Dan, and I knew him very well. I got material from him, you know, in the first years. I got cuttings from him. So yeah, there was a support group.
What about the larger industry in the area at the time?
Well, there was the ruling organization at the time was OWA, and there were meetings, and there was a small group back then too. You know, there's a small group. I mean, there were Eras and Adelsheim and Ponzi and all those guys. You know, met them there at those meetings back then, and that was good, really. I mean, this was really friendly. It changed later on, you know. Later on, a lot of money came in, and all of a sudden the whole focus shifted, you know. But those guys, those early guys, they were very nice, you know. I mean, they are still, you know. So, so there was a lot of OWA business going on, and I participated in a lot of those meetings, and you know, to get an idea of the bigger picture and the marketing strategies. Back then I was trying to get the wine out into the country, you know, marketing strategies, where to go, what, you know. So we went to OWA, set up tastings in New York City and Washington and LA, and then it changed. Then the Wine Advisory Board got formed. OWA still exists, but the whole dynamics changed. you know. It was not anymore the group that you knew everybody, you know. All of a sudden there were different interests coming in, but I mean, you knew a good thing was happening. This was a growing industry, and it has been, and it has had some definite success, you know. We all know that.
Sure. So when it comes to selling your grapes versus selling wine, have you found it easier to sell grapes to other producers than it is to sell wine to the consumer?
Yeah, it's easier to sell grapes because you harvest them and they're gone. When you make wine, especially red wine, you know, the process before you even can start putting it on the market is another year and a half, you know, basically. And then it doesn't sell at once, you know, then you got to gradually move it, one case or one bottle at a time. So if I sell 50 tons to somebody, you know, that is a lot smoother. And that's what I do. And, you know, I figure those wineries that are out there that have big budgets and big marketing money, you know, let them do the marketing. Nationwide, you know, the King Estates, the Willamette Valley, Argyle, and who not, you know. So, and you know, they know I can produce a good product. I mean, I have long-term contracts with a lot of those folks, and so that's what you need to know. You need to grow quality fruit, and then you wouldn't have a problem, you know, selling it.
Sure.
And be happy. Happier.
So is that the grape growing, is that the part of the process you enjoy the most?
Yeah, I enjoy the part of being here, you know, living in the land. And yeah, going through the season, all the different things, when there's a lot of very busy to very kickback periods, you know, and so that's enjoyable. And then I can, you know, do other things and grow other things or do hobbies, you know. So.
And you manage multiple vineyards, is that right?
Over the years, I've got additional vineyards. I bought additional land, and I lease vineyards that I manage and that I harvest the fruit and sell or use some of it for my own operation here.
So can you tell us about Prairie Mountain Wineries and some of the costs and benefits of being in that group?
Well, you know, my German background always taught me, you know, that the wines all were classified by AVAs, you know, viticultural areas, you know, and you got the broad viticultural areas, and then you got the sub-AVAs, and this is a marketing scheme, you know, that's all over Europe. Is, you know, there's the Rhine, the Mosel, you know, and all those different, or Burgundy, or Bordeaux, and Loire, different areas that are all specifically AVAs, you know, and we had this big AVA of the Willamette Valley here, and it was only a matter of time before you know, people started to pick up this system, this European system of you know, establishing sub-AVAs and promoting their specific area with, you know, that produces a distinct wine, and use that as a marketing tool. And here in the South Willamette Valley, we always were operating and marketing as a group, South Willamette Winery, South Willamette Valley Wineries. But that's a very diverse group. It is like, you know, it goes from Cottage Grove up to Monroe, and the different approaches, different ideas, and also different, you know, soils and different little microclimates and stuff. And so for a while we were trying to do marketing through that group, but it seemed like, we couldn't find the common denominator, what defined us as a group, because of all those different directions that individuals went. Some people were just buying fruit from Roque and somewhere, and then have a little hole-in-the-wall winery here, but they want to be part of this group, and it didn't really have to do anything with the land itself, And my belief always was, that the land itself is a main factor for what the resulting wine will be. So the group that just lives in the produces grapes in the immediate neighborhood here, we finally figured out that we should get together and we should form our own little group to market the distinct qualities that we produce here. And so that happened a couple of years ago, First we had some talking about forming an AVA, and then those talks ended up being not very productive, because it was not, again, about the land. It was about who was there at the meeting, and I know somebody there who went in, and I said, this is not how it goes. If you want to do something like that, you got to look at really a geographical feature and stick with that. So anyway, we came up with a common denominator, was that we all lived in the rain shadow of this mountain called Prairie Mountain, and 6 wineries. We formed that group, and basically for marketing purposes, making for little wine tours, because we are within 15-minute, 20-minute radius here, starting at Benton Lane and going down to Bennett on Highway 36. So that seemed to be logical, and it has worked out pretty good so far. And now we're, discussing whether we should go further and try the AVA, sub-AVA process. So we just had a meeting yesterday, and we're discussing those things. Pfeiffer and Walnut Ridge and Brigadoon, Benton Lane, Bennett.
When you talk about your geographical and microclimate, what do you talk about? How do you describe this winery or the wineries in that group?
Well, just climatically, as far as microclimate is concerned, that range shadow of that mountain, that Prairie Mountain, gives us a little warmer microclimate. We have sites that ripen a little earlier than a lot of Willamette Valley sites, and even a lot of the Dundee Hill sites, So that is one factor that sets us apart. Then the soil is different here. We mostly grow grapes on bell pine soil. That's the predominant soil in those hillsides here. Which is not quite as deep as Jory, which is often Villekensi and Jory are used up there, and so we experience a little more stress here because of the shallower profile, which I think gives it adds to the difference, the character of the wine. So I mean, those are things I would broadly, see.
Does that change anything about what you choose to grow or how you choose to grow it here, the worm especially?
Well, we all. I mean, Pinot Noir is our mainstay, and we do that, And I think important factor is your choices of rootstock. And we all use all the clones that are out there. Everybody has their favorite clone. And so everybody, there's all the clones that are available are here. I think just the rootstock to manage vigor, for instance, is important. And then, over the years, the whole approach and spacing and stuff has changed. Also, you know, in the beginning, people were going California style, and that has all changed into coming more together, more tighter spacing. You know, less crop per vine, and so on. You know, and there's also another thing is, of course, manage the crop level. But lately, opinions changing again. You know, it used to be you had to have 2 tons to the acre or your grapes were bad. You know, and now they say, well, you can't just do that. That's generally speaking, you know, in a really good year with really good weather, you know, even a larger crop will do fine. You know, so there's still evolution going on. People learning and starting new approaches. You know. New varieties, there's nothing really new that I think everybody has a little hobby, you know, a little specialty. I grow some German varietals that nobody else has, that I brought here actually, and they make, like, you know, German Spätlese kind of wines, you know, really sweet but really fruitful, really lots of concentrated flavors. So that's what my little line of specialty is. You know, other people try, you know, Viognier or something, you know. But yeah, that's just, you know, in the tasting room you want to have some a little different.
Sure. So you're talking about sort of the shifting opinion and how it's changed over the years in terms of, you know, row widths and tonnage and things like that. How do you personally, like, decide who to listen to, or is it all basically your own experience, or do you listen to the general consensus?
Well, going back to how I picked up viticulture, you know, it was all those German books that I got. You know, I figured those people have done it for hundreds of years. You know, they know something. So that's what my basic approach comes from, you know. And as far as crop level is concerned, you know, I never was a believer that you had to crop it down, you know. There's always other factors that you can use how to determine how much crop you can produce, you know. For instance, people weigh the pruning, you know, use the pruning weight to determine how much load you can put on a grapevine, you know, and still ripen it, you know. So it's how, and then the other thing is, you know, how much canopy you provide for your wine. I mean, the sugar that's produced, the flavors that are produced, they're produced through, you know, photosynthesis. And so a very important factor is that you give a lot of light to those leaves, you know. So shoot positioning, tall canopy, those are things that I look for, you know, in managing a vineyard to get the results that I want.
And you're still, I assume, learning and changing your methods as you go?
Yeah, the methods change all the time, you know. A lot of it has to do with labor too. This is the first year I used a subcontractor to do machine hedging, you know, and I'm going to use some machine to de-leaf the fruit zone. I've never done that before, but it's just a matter of economics and labor availability. And I guess the machinery has improved significantly too to do a decent job on those applications.
Do you think, we've heard this before, do you think that's where the industry is going to have to go in the future with the shortage of labor?
Well, if Donald builds his wall. Yeah, you know, I mean, we can't, you know, deny the fact that the labor is as Latin American as Mexican, you know, in this industry as it is in most agriculture, you know, and I mean, and the young generation, they're not necessarily following in the footsteps of their parents either, and it's just normal. That's to be expected. They go to school, they go to college, they want different jobs, and so I don't know where it's going. Right now I have a crew that has been working for me for a long time, and we got a good relationship, and everything is good, but you never know. So, but mechanization, is something you have to consider to stay on top.
Sure. So going back a little bit, when you were selling your wine, especially in the early days, as you were trying to market, what were some of the reactions you got to your wine specifically, or to Oregon wine in general, as you were outside the Northwest, especially?
It totally depends on the market, you go to New York City and you just meet a bunch of wine snobs, and they say, where Oregon, this may have changed too. I think it has. I mean, I'm talking turn of the century, late 90s, early 20th century, 2002, maybe. Very tough and very, very, very snooty people, Then you go down to Washington, D.C., and very open people, very open and friendly, and experimenting and giving you feedback, and it's totally different. The same with going to Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's the same thing. San Francisco is a more open place, where you get feedback and people appreciate new stuff, even though they live basically in the middle of a grape growing, surrounded by famous grape growing areas. And Los Angeles is just difficult, it's just very snooty.
When you're in San Francisco especially, did you find it was hard to compete with Napa and Sonoma wines, or did you find people were looking for something?
No, they were. Well, it has changed too now, because back then the word was California cannot grow any good Pinot, and then Oregon and in San Francisco they were into Pinot, so Oregon did fill that void, because we had the good Pinot, and they were loving it. In the meantime, the Californians have changed their approach to growing Pinot, gone into the cooler sites and harvested earlier. Don't get the sugars up to 26 bricks, and so they caught on to the Pinot Grays, but then again, I'm not out there anymore, really listening to people right now, what they're saying. I'm just what I can see from publications and stuff, that there's a lot of California Pinot now, and highly rated too.
You've mentioned a little bit of this before, but I'd love some more detail on sort of what are the biggest changes you've seen in the Oregon industry since you've become a part of it?
Well, naturally, because of the growth, there's you operate more on a professional level instead of on a personal level. It is just it is an industry, so that's a change, I see. And I mean, for Oregon itself, it's positive, the growth has been positive. I mean, I think, those hillsides are just begging for grapevines, and the potential is not even reached, it's not even close to reached, I mean, Joe Dobbs, he kept on saying the best wines haven't been made yet, because there's still so much land out there that's basically untouched, especially down here. It's filling in up there in your neck of the woods there. Yeah, but I saw it from 8,000 acres go to, I don't know what it is now, 40,000, 50,000 acres.
Many.
And this is still nothing by world standards of grape growing regions. It's not not a big area, not a big region.
Right.
So I think, but the other thing is, there's a lot of wine in this world. You go to a supermarket and you look at the shelves and you say, who's drinking all this wine? Because there's like, how many bottles are there? Fred Meyer's or it's unbelievable. So that's the main thing, is to teach the American public to drink more wine, instead of Budweiser, And I mean, this has happened too, but again, this is still a lot of possibility to gain some ground.
So where do you think Oregon will be in the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Well, I think it's steady growth. I believe in that, because I mean, the only thing that I think is counterproductive is, everybody says they want to make a Pinot Noir that costs $60 a bottle. I think that's counterproductive, because then you kind of, how do you want people to drink more wine at that level? So you're catering to a certain group of people that have that income to spend. If you wanted to broaden the appeal of wine, you definitely have to get wine out there of a high quality that is not as expensive. I believe in that, and but the potential is huge here, and I think it'll people will take advantage of that, and the growth will, I think it'll be steady growth. I don't know where it's going to top out, but there's a lot of headroom still.
It's true. Do you think the growth will happen as it's been happening, or do you think it's going to be a lot of outside money, California, France money?
Well, that's already happening. There's a lot of, I mean, big players coming in, getting a piece of Oregon Pinot, Kendall Jackson, and other groups, trying to get California people taking Oregon grapes and marketing them under their labels, and well, money is the driving force. Capital is the driving force because it is still it's quite an investment. A vineyard, an acre to establish costs between $15,000 and $20,000. That's it's a bit of money. If you grow hay, you don't do much, But again, that yield potential is accordingly higher too in the long run. So there will be, and there has been a lot of capital coming in. There's a lot of people that came in and spent big bucks to buy land, and a lot of people that just love to own a vineyard. They're not necessarily out there, but
sure.
But that's more on a smaller level, right? On an individual level, somebody whose dream it was to own a 20-acre vineyard. And but I also see that big players are going to become more of a factor.
Do you think there's still room in the industry for a small family or a single person to come in and start organically the way this was?
I don't know. There's 700 wineries in Oregon. That's a lot of wineries.
It's true.
Yeah, and everybody thinks they have the best Pinot on earth, and everybody wants to have a tasting room and wants to try to make a living on that. So I don't know if that's sustainable. How much tourists can you get on a weekend?
So what advice would you give to an aspiring vintner?
Oh, if you love it, do it. I think, I mean, you don't want to give up on a dream. If you want to go out and I think, sure, it's rewarding.
Where do you see High Pass itself going in the future? Do you have any goals for it?
Yeah, well, I would like to see my daughters involved in it more, but I don't see that at the moment. They're still in to probably UH, yeah, and going to college, but nothing to do with wine or viticulture, you know. And so, but that may change, you know, because things change in life, and focus changes, and if young people mature, they see things different, and maybe they come around. So that's one thing, and but I'm gung ho too, you know, as far as putting in more acreage. I mean, I bought a place a few years ago that is a couple miles from here that I planted, you know, and it's a beautiful place, and it makes beautiful grapes, and then the neighboring piece of property is for sale, and I told my friends to buy it. I'll put the vineyard in for them. So I'm in the growth mode as much as. But I should retire. You know, I should retire. I should just. But on the other hand, why should I sit around all day? You know, so it's as long as I can move around, I'll move around.
Do you have anything you'd like to try different? Any new varieties you'd like to try to grow, or new styles you'd like to try?
Well, I would probably put the variety I like to play with is Pinot Blanc. I think I don't have any Pinot Blanc right now, and I think I will plant some. I've always liked Sauvignon Blanc, and I have some Sauvignon Blanc, and I will probably plant some more of it, because it's just such a aromatic, flavorful wine, you know, and it goes so good with food, you know, with seafood and pasta and stuff. So it's that one I will keep on going, and those would be the two I'm interested in.
It makes me think of another question. How have you seen the change in the sort of wine knowledge of the general public in the last few decades?
Oh yeah, people are more knowledgeable about what's going on, you know, definitely. Sometimes it's over the top, you know, people asking about the clones, you know, or what clone is this, or does it make a difference? I mean, okay, you know, you can chat about it, and it's good talk, you know. But the fact that people know about clones, you know, shows you there is more knowledge out there, and people following what's going on, you know, and people knowing about, you know, temperature sums and stuff like that, and asking questions, you know, and rootstocks. So okay. And also the knowledge, you know, of what a good Pinot to differentiate, you know, to taste the wine and say, oh, what this is, you know, or describing it, even describing it, you know, fruity, different fruits, or the tannins, or the acidity, you know, giving you. So I think that has significantly grown, and as long as I've been around, you know. You know. In the old days, people came and bought a bottle and drank out of the bottle, you know.
What about personally? What's your? Do you have a favorite variety to drink or a favorite to grow?
I like them all. Yeah, you know, I like Pinot Noir, I like a lot, and I like a rosé, you know, from Pinot Noir for now, for the summer. Beautiful wine, just not too heavy, you know. And I like Sauvignon Blanc, as I said. Pinot Gris, you know, it was this Pinot Gris wave going on. Everybody planted some, everybody had to have some. It's okay, you know, it's okay. And Riesling I like, because I'm German, I have to like it. And it can make really good wine too, so it's not just because I'm German. And those late harvest ones, they're good to, you know, the zip for dessert. Really concentrated and sweet.
That's all the questions I have. Does anybody back here have any questions they'd like to ask? Anything you'd like to add? Anything I didn't ask that I should have? Anything else you'd like to mention?
No, I would encourage people to do it. It's a beautiful lifestyle to live on a vineyard and be surrounded by all this greenery. And at the end of the year, have something to cherish and savor.
Yeah, it certainly is amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Well,